Last time on Sweet 15.
Last week, Chanel and Anne Marie went down the rabbit hole, recounting their experiences in South Africa. From boys, discrimination, and even apartheid, the girls touched on a little bit of everything. But this week, they're going even deeper.
And this man, they just gave him a giant bag of cornflakes, but they just did not understand why giving this man a do-rag was so problematic in the United States. And it was crazy to me. Or even just somebody calling Chanel colored. Like, it's 2023. Like, I know they didn't mean it in a bad way,
Yeah.
but that's bizarre.
Thing is that when we talk about race, I think we think of it in a very like American context, but the rest of the world doesn't have the same relationship that we do as Americans have with race, or the idea of race and how it's split up and how people are divided. Because like even here in France, like you see like systematic racism and all these things, but the conversation about race is not the same. Like people do not see they do not see black and white the way we do in America.
Why do you think that is?
I think because it's very ingrained in like the beginning of our country, where at least in Europe and Africa, like people have been mixing like years before the American slave trade happened. So like their ideas of like splitting people into groups and stuff, like it wasn't, I mean, I won't say it wasn't a thing, but it's not engraved in the history like it is like in America.
Do you think it also has to do with the idea of reparations not being made in America?
Mm, honestly, I can't answer that question. The only thing that could be closely comparable is like the Holocaust and Germany. And the way that Germans view the Holocaust is very, very different how Americans view slavery.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I'm trying to think about it. Like, even in the sense of me saying I didn't feel like I could say the word black.
Hmm.
I don't know why. Like, I don't think it's not something that like my friends talked about. Like, it's not something that my parents talked about. It's just I always felt like I couldn't say it. And so I feel like
Hmm.
it's like a really like big societal thing. And
Yeah.
so I just don't know like where that comes from. Because like you said, like the closest thing like to segregation in the world, you mentioned the Holocaust, but like in terms of segregation itself would have been like apartheid in South Africa. And yet
Hmm.
it's still looked at so differently. And I just don't know if it's because not enough time has passed or like what the situation is exactly, but that it just feels so crazy to me.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like, I have no idea, honestly. Like, even what it would be in like 10, 20 years. I have no idea, like, what it could be.
Yeah, same. I think it's cool that we can talk about it and like discuss. I feel like that's the way to move
Mhm.
forward and progress. But
Yeah, for sure.
this is not the white girl ending the racism conversation, but to get back to the original, I mean it is, but it's because we got we got other things to cover, so we're gonna be canceled. But to get back to your question of solo traveling versus traveling with a group, I'll say with other people instead of just solo. I
Mhm.
feel like when I'm on my own, I'm not happier, but if I want to get a lot of things done, they will get done when I'm on my own because I
Mm.
feel like I have to force myself to do those things because I have to rely on myself. For some reason, Chanel, the two of us could not get anything done when we were together. And I just don't know why. Like, I feel like this is never, no, I feel like this always happens to us. Like, even when I came to Turkey to see you, it wasn't as extreme, but because I was so comfortable and I just wanted to spend time with you, like, I would just be hanging out with you. And like, anytime I would go out and do something touristy, I was on my own.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like this is the first time we've kind of been in a place where, I mean, yes and no, where like we're traveling like outside of a country that either one of us knows about
Exactly.
really. But
Yeah.
when we were in like Turkey, we went to Budrum and Izmir, like because I wasn't familiar with either one of those either.
Yeah, that's true. I will say, I remember, like, I feel like in Bodrum, when there were things I wanted to do, I was the one who was like, we're going to do this thing. And I like forced us to go do it. So
Mhm.
even we kept saying we're going to go to Greece, we're going to go to Greece. And then we kept drinking every night and like sleeping in. And then on our last day, I was like, no, I was like, we're going to Greece. And I like made us get up and made us go. I feel
Mhm.
like this time I was so burnt out and exhausted from being on my own in East Africa that I kind of just like left things to you. And then as a result, I feel like I put too much pressure on you, and then like things just didn't work out. I don't think that was completely the issue. I think also just timing was so weird when we were in South Africa. Like I almost also felt like there's just like some external factor that just would not let us get things done. I don't know if it was the demons. I don't know if it was just like African timing. Like
also, like, things close early. Things
That's
close
true.
really early.
But I just feel like nothing until we got to Cape Town. Even then, like nothing would work out. Even when you left Chanel, I did no touristy activities besides go to Modular, the club, when you left.
That wasn't the problem.
Oh, and we went to Musenberg. We went to the surf town. But I also forced all of us to go because I was with my fling and he like didn't want to go. And I was like, well, I'm going. I was like, you can either come or you cannot. And he only ended up coming because we ran into like another friend who got his bicycle stolen and like was in a knife fight. So then we took him because he didn't have a bicycle. So he came with us, but then we left him in the surf town and we never heard from him again. No one has his contact information. I don't know what this man is doing. And then the fling that I was hanging out with, like he kept bringing it up for the next 3 days. He was like, I can't believe we left Tristan there. And I was like, I asked you, should we go look for him? He's your friend. I don't know this man. I just met him a couple of hours ago, but he was wasted. We were all wasted. And he was like, no, he's fine. He's fine. And I was like, are you sure like we should go look for him? And he's like, no, it's fine. And then he would not let me forget about Tristan. Like Tristan was mentioned to me at least once an hour for a good day and a half. I was like, I'm sure Tristan's fine. He survived a knife fight. I think he'll be okay.
Like we just met the most like interesting people on this trip, honestly.
It was a lot. It's funny because we talk about Turkey and we talk about Bodrum and we talk about the hostel that we were at and how everybody was like, it's like we were on Love Island and everyone was so different. I feel like this was the complete opposite, where everybody was from different countries, but we all had the same issues. We had the same psychological issues, and for some reason, they all brought us to this hostel that was basically like a drug den. That's how it felt. I feel like we were like in an episode of like Hoarders, but for drugs.
It was like they said it was like Big Brother or something like that.
No, that's not how it felt. That's not how it felt.
I never watched Big Brother, but I don't know. I mean, because I don't know. I mean, I guess I left by the time things got really druggy because I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel like it was a big.
Didn't feel that way. Every time we were in the TV room, everybody was like hopped up on drugs.
No, I didn't feel this way.
I think you were just in your own world. I felt this way from the beginning. Something about the situation was just like uncomfortable, but in a way that I actually really liked deep down.
No,
I think you blocked it out because it's not something
I must have. Like, I know people were on drugs, but I didn't feel like it was like a big defining factor or like a big theme of the trip for me.
It's funny. I don't think it was a defining factor, but I think there are parts of me that my parents made me scared of. Like there are things in life that I feel like my parents tried to like instill fear in me for. And this is the first time where I was in a situation where I was like, I mean, you were there for part of it, but once you left, where I was on my own and I could like, I felt like I was of sound enough mind to make decisions for myself. Yeah. That were like technically could be bad decisions, but I felt in my heart that I wanted to do these things and I felt like I would be okay if I did them. So I did them very responsibly. I'm not talking about drugs. I'm just talking about a variety of things. I feel like I like these, like I like danger a little bit. I like a little bit of adventure and danger, and I feel like I've always been afraid to like pursue that part of myself. I think having gone on this trip and like having that safe space with you and then you leaving and then like still being like comfortable in that space, I was able to do those things. And now when I come home, I feel a lot more energized and I feel like I've accepted a part of myself that I kept repressing for so long. So it was a really nice feeling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's a good mix of like, I think everyone should do a good mix of like solo traveling and then like traveling with friends. Like it's different experiences for sure.
And it's always a different experience too. And I think that's something that's hard for me is like, I identified traveling with you to be a certain experience. And I kept saying this. I was like, I want it to be like Turkey. I want it to be crazy like Turkey, blah, blah. And I feel like that ruined my experience for the first half of it.
I think like for me, you have a lot of these like expectations for things. And I feel like sometimes it adds a little bit pressure to me because I feel like I have to like bring a certain type of attitude or I have to make certain things happen, or if things don't happen a certain way, then maybe the trip isn't up to par. I think you should relax.
I think you're right. I think it's hard for me. Yeah. Because I put a lot of pressure on myself as well, where it's like I don't want to go somewhere and not have the fullest experience that I can have. And so I think the problem is I'll go into experiences looking for a certain emotion, but not to like do a certain activity, if that makes sense. And it's like you never know how you're gonna feel or who you're gonna like meet up with. And it's just like I said, I really have this craving for like adventure. And if I don't have it, I feel like unfulfilled. So I feel like what I do is like back home, I have like this very consistent life. Or not consistent, like I do fun things, but it's like when I travel, that's when I see myself doing the things that I really want to do, but I'm not doing as much in my everyday life. And so I feel like I put all this pressure on it. Like the trip has to go this way, the trip has to go this way. Because I know when I come back, it's going to all feel like a dream and it was over and blah, blah, blah. But I have to find a way to bring that to like all parts of my life. So I'm not putting as much pressure on myself to have it in like these contained periods of time.
Yeah. I'm not sure, like maybe because I technically live abroad. I mean I still have a very consistent-ish kind of life here. Where I don't feel like I have to go out and look for adventure, but adventure will just come and find me.
I wonder, I feel like it's also because in the past, I don't think I trusted myself as much to be able to do it on my own. So I know that
Mm,
when I'm with you, I feel like so safe and so confident in myself that like I can have these experiences when I'm with you. So I feel like I just identified that type of lifestyle with you or like with us being together. So when we're apart, I feel like I'm incomplete. Like I'm missing that part of myself that can help me like get to that place, which is why this time it was so cool for you to leave. Sounds so mean. For you to leave. And then I have this whole experience doing like these new exciting things and you're not there. And it
mm,
was so intense and I was able to do it without you. I mean, I still attribute a bit to you because like you were there and you helped push like some things along before
yeah,
you left. But once you left, honestly, it was just me. I was like on my own. I wasn't even staying at the hostel. I had to go back and like find
yeah.
my way and like push for things. And I don't know, it was actually kind of empowering. I mean, sometimes I feel stupid looking back, but for the most part, it was empowering.
Yeah, like making those memories. I have to say also like when we went to Johannesburg, I had my friend Kat there. So we were able to spend like some of the time with her and get like an inside experience to like a local's life in Johannesburg. Technically we were never in Johannesburg. Like she lived a little bit outside and she did it with us like stepping foot inside Johannesburg.
Yeah.
But even like again to experience that with her was like really like cool. And also like her partner had a lot of background history of like the apartheid and like living in South Africa. Like I mean, he was really, really young, so he probably didn't get to experience what the apartheid was like, but he definitely felt some of the like reminiscences of it. And then when we went to Cape Town, I think the craziest thing, like I tell everyone this, is that one of my good friends I met here in Paris, he's from Brazil, but we met here in Paris. He's seen my story on Instagram and he was like, "Hey Chanel, are you in South Africa?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "What? I'm in Cape Town." I was like, "Oh, we'll be in Cape Town like in a few days." He was like, "What hostel are you staying at?" Because we're very broke and that's all we could afford is a hostel. And I was like, "Yeah, like we're gonna be at Long Street, Long Back Street, something. Long Street, that's it.
Long
Long
Street
Street
backpackers.
Backpackers." And he was staying at the same exact hostel.
Not only was he staying there, he was volunteering there.
Volunteering. So he knew everyone. So like as soon as we got there, we were automatically like introduced to everyone, like made friends like super quickly.
It was crazy.
And it was
It
only
was
four days. It was only 4 days. I mean, for me, it was only 4 days.
for me, I think it was like
Like
8.
6, 8.
Yeah. Because I left Sunday night and you left Wednesday.
Yeah. Mm,
So it's not like another 4 days.
yeah. So like it's funny, like when you're spending such a like even if it's a short period of time, but like you're in one space with all these people, you get to make relationships like so quickly.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because a lot of people that go to hostels will be on their own as well. And so
Mm,
I see people just like forming strong connections with one another. Like whether or not they're lasting, I don't know. For me,
mm.
they usually are, but like even there was a girl who got sick on the trip and like Roger and I like went to get her medicine one day. It's like
Oh,
we gotta get this
Roger.
medicine.
Roger's the friend. Sorry, I didn't say his name, but
I thought you
Roger.
said his name.
Right? Oh, yeah, I did. Roger.
I could be wrong, but anyway, Roger. He was like, we gotta get her medicine. We gotta get her medicine. So we went and like I don't know, like I could be in a trip with my sister and I feel like she'd be like, I'm not getting this bitch nothing. So it's just crazy that people you've just met
Mhm.
could become such a strong, like connecting force for you. That leads me to some of my questions. I've been like, I was telling Chanel earlier, we spoke for about a half hour before we recorded this call because I'm crazy and she's the best. And I was telling her how I just miss like a lot of the people that we met. And like, I don't know, I didn't feel this way coming back from Turkey, besides with like the guy that I was like, I thought I was in love with. But that's also because I'm crazy. And I don't know, I felt kind of sad. Like for some reason this time around, like I just feel like I'm never going to see these people again, which is ridiculous because I have so many people that I've met in the past on other trips. We do reconnect and see each other again. But for me, it's just like, it feels so, it's so unstable. Like, I don't know. It's everything's so uncertain. And that really scares me, especially when I met someone and it's like a really deep connection. I enjoyed spending time with them. And so it's kind of sad. Like we were talking about how it just like, it feels like a dream whenever you end a trip like this. And I want to ask Chanel, how how do you maintain connections with the people you meet abroad? Should you?
I think it depends. I think it depends on what experience you had with the person. I am a firm believer if it's a fling, you leave it alone.
And that's not what I was talking about at all.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Like I haven't had like a lot of flings when traveling, but like literally the flings I've had in the past, as soon as I leave the country, I unfollow them on Instagram, Facebook, delete the chats. I pretend that shit never happened. It
Okay,
never
but
happened.
okay, but I'll say this. Don't you feel like my flings, like they feel like they're flings, of course, but they're almost like mini relationships. Like I feel like when you have a fling, you have a true fling. Like, do you remember the guy from Turkey? Like
Okay,
y'all had that was a real fling.
mm, you know what? When it comes, I think we should do a poll. I think we should do a poll on Instagram to let the people decide on what a fling is and what a relationship is.
No, I'm not. I would, okay, yes, but I would never claim that what I had was a true relationship because that requires like commitment from both people. But I feel that like what I went through with the people, like it would have been different if we just like, you know, we
Mm.
did we had physical relations and then you know, I said goodbye and then we didn't see each other again. The problem is usually it would be like a multiple day thing and we'd also be spending time together during the day. And
Mm.
so it almost felt like, of course, it wasn't a real relationship, but I feel like we would be like talking about our families. We'd be talking about like all this intense stuff. Do you feel like that's what you usually do with your flings?
It depends. Like
Really?
when I was in Italy, I had a whole Italian lover and everything. There was a whole thing. But then when I left Italy, I had to leave my Italian boyfriend in Italy.
Maybe I just can't have flings. Like, I feel like for me, I just form like really intense connections with people, even friends. You see this all the time where you feel like my friends are like, it's like I'm dating somebody.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, if I meet someone and I think they're special, like, I'm not saying I
Mhm.
want to marry the person, but like, they're going to be special to me always. And I don't want that connection to like end necessarily.
There was one fling I didn't unfollow. And this was the guy I was dating. Like even this I would count as a fling. I met this man's family. He brought me to the family wedding.
Oh,
I got
in Egypt.
there. Exactly. I had to, he still sends me birthday messages. I'm like, thank you. Yes, have a great time. But I had to leave him back in Egypt. I'm not bringing him with me. No. So when you have a fling, cut them loose. These are the relationships you do not take forward. You do
I
not
think I'm
take
doing
forward.
flings wrong.
Yes. But when you make really strong connections, like friendship connections and stuff, like you kind of want to carry them on. So at least for me, I think I do a decent job. Like it doesn't always happen, but like even if it's just like reaching out for friends' birthdays, if there's a possibility of us like catching up in a country together, like I'll go out of my way to make sure this happens. I think that's the best way of like making sure that like friendships actually do carry on. Like if you want them to.
The only thing is, like, sometimes I question. I used to do this in my relationships as well. Like, is it worth like invest? Like, I just feel like I invest so much of myself, like so much emotional energy, and it's a person I may never see again. Like, even friendship wise, like, is it worth it?
I will have to say, like, two of the friends that I made in Egypt, I never say this girl's name right. I love you though. Dougal? Dougal?
You say it different every time, but I always know who you're talking about.
I know. It's funny because it's also my old manager's name. So her and Jada, these were two Turkish girls I met in Egypt, and we just kept in contact little by little. But like when I had to move to Turkey, like I never in a million years would have thought I would have moved to Turkey. But having their contacts, like I was super close with Dugu, but with Jada, I wasn't that close, but we still kept in contact. When I landed in Turkey, that girl was like my right hand. If I needed help with anything, I knew I could call her and she would help me. If I need anything translated, she was there. Like I would have never thought in a million years that I like a contact that I made when I was in Egypt would be helping me in Turkey. So you never know when these like friendships will also pop up and be like very useful, not in a using type of way, but like just in a friendship type of way. And if she ever needs to come to the States for anything, she knows that she called me, she got a bed, like, and I think that's the most beautiful things about making friendships like worldwide. Like you always have like a little home somewhere.
Yeah. I think it's really beautiful, but it's also, I don't know, for me it's so sad sometimes. Like and I just emotionally invest in things so heavily. So how do you recommend like detaching? You're so good. Chanel sounds so bad, but it's not. Chanel is so good at detaching from things. Like even like I'll never forget the day we went to see the penguins in Cape Town. And I was like, oh, the penguins. I mean, Chanel liked the penguins too, but I was like, I'm gonna go back and like I want to watch the penguins from this angle and that angle and this angle. And Chanel was like, Emery, I'm done. I'm done with the penguins. She was like, I'm gonna go sit over here. And I was like, honestly, it rained on my parade a little bit. I was like, but the penguins are still penguining. Like, I want to go see the penguins. I mean, we were barely even there for an hour. Like after like 20 minutes, Chanel was like, I'm done with the penguins. And I was like, I mean, that's fine, but we came all this way, like all this way. I just want to see the penguins. And I remember Chanel was like, I don't know, I feel like I just don't care. I don't care about these things as much as you do. And I was like, okay.
I don't know. I don't know if it's detaching. Mm, I, I, I don't know if it would be the same for like when it comes to like friendships and stuff.
I
Honestly, I
feel
don't
like
even
you
know.
are. I feel like you are.
Maybe. I'm not sure to say. Like before, like I would say like when it came to like making friends and then having to leave the place, if I felt like I had a really good bond with this person, then I would try to keep that friendship forward and like maybe in the future like we'll meet up or something. Like even with my friends back in Turkey, same concept. Even with my friends here in France, like before when I first moved here, I didn't know I was coming back. Um, but I always had a feeling like we would see each other again. So I never had this like deep sorrow of like, oh, like this is the last time I'll be seeing these people. But with the penguins, I can't tell you about the penguins. I just felt like I seen the penguins. I came, I did what I needed to do, and now it's done. Like I
It
see
was
the
funny.
penguins.
It was funny because I just felt like you were being so rude that day. Like
Well, I think also like this is very different, but one that it was very far from what I expected it to be. And I hate when things kind of ruin like if I have expectations for something and things aren't up to my expectations, it disappoints me so much. And that's why I try not to have expectations.
no, that's
That's
fair.
one.
But it
And
was
then second, we didn't eat that day either. And I think I had a really bad gas. So I wasn't feeling well on top of it.
no, that makes sense. But for me, like you didn't explain that to me until later on, at least like the wanting to eat. Because originally
Yeah.
you were just like, I'm done. And I was like, okay. And then you went to the other part of like there were two views, like two viewpoints for the penguins, one that was crowded and one that was not crowded. So you went to the
Mm-hmm.
not crowded one. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go find her. And then I went to find you. And I was just like, I mean, I think what was upsetting me was I knew you were upset about how far we were going. Like we got in the car and then you're like, oh, this is quite far. The thing is,
Yeah.
I felt like you were upset and it was impacting me. I know you didn't blame me, but I was like, it's not my fault that it's far. Like I didn't tell the penguins get in a car and go an hour away from where we're staying, and that's where you got to inhabit, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, I was frustrated. But what made it okay for me was there were these little like rodents. I don't know what to call them. What were the things that you were scared of? Do you remember
I
the
don't
name?
know. I call them groundhogs, but I have no idea what
They're
they
not
are.
groundhogs, but we can call them groundhogs. And Chanel, I thought they were so cute. And Chanel saw them and she was scared. Like every time they would run by, she would scream. And I'm
They
not
look
saying
like
I believe in karma,
that.
but it made me so happy. Every time you screamed, I was like,
That's just a little evil, but I digress.
I mean, I wasn't making you go past them. They just happened to be there. Like I wouldn't have forced you in their way. But I thought they were so cute and you were like irritated by them and I had been irritated that you were irritated before.
When we post this episode, we need to also post a picture of whatever those rodents are because they looked evil. They looked at you with such disgusting looks. They looked at you like, why are you here?
I think they were really cute.
We'll post a picture and we'll let the people choose.
Okay. I cannot. This episode has been literally all around the world and back. That's how it feels. But I feel like we covered some good stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I had all these questions that we didn't touch on, but I'm glad we talked about this anyway. I kind of want to end with this question. Unless, is there anything else you want to discuss?
I think maybe just one, like how to stay present in experience rather than like overthinking. We touched a bit on it before.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. We touched a bit on it before, but like just like this expectations of like what you want to happen and then like how to actually be present in the moment.
Yeah, I was gonna say this as well. I think so for me, I don't know if I have good advice on this, but I struggle a lot to stay present in any experience, and I'm always thinking about the future. Like even when I would travel with my parents, I would always be like, "What are we doing tomorrow? What are we doing tomorrow? Like what happens next?" And so I realized that really takes me out of the present moment.
Mm.
And as a result, I feel like I have trouble like focusing on like what's happening. And I think that's why sometimes things will hit me a little bit late. Like I'll cry about things after they happen instead of like in the moment. So it's something I want to work on more. But I think the only way that I know that I can be present now is like I look back on South Africa and like it went like in the blink of an eye. Even East Africa, like that feels like years ago and it was only a couple of weeks. And I spent so much of it crying over boys. I wouldn't say I wasted any experience. I don't think I wasted it. I think everything was like teaching me a lesson, but I spent a lot of it crying, not only over guys, over things going wrong, over like a zebra eating my knee brace, over getting my period and like ruining pants. Like so many things just went wrong. And I was so upset about it. And I tried so hard to like get myself to a place where I was happy. And every time I would, something else would go wrong. And now I look back and none of those things, like when I tell people like things went wrong and then I tell them about the actual trip, I don't even remember half the things that went wrong. Because everything I just mentioned was, I mean, those are the big things. There were a lot of other things as well, but they barely even come to mind because I'm thinking about the other positive things that happen. So I think that makes me realize that I just need to be more focused in the moment, be like, oh, okay, this happened, whatever. It doesn't have to be perfect.
No, for sure. Um, I think I always say this, like I like planning. I like having like an idea, like what we're doing, but I don't like sticking to the plan. Like I feel like you must be very flexible when you travel because you never know what can happen. I think one of my favorite, I mean, there was a lot of amazing things that happened, but one of my favorite things we did was go to like the winery, the wine tasting. And that was something that was not planned. Like we literally just like hijacked another person trip, and I think it was like one of my favorite days.
You know, that was one of my favorite days too, because I really like the guys that we went with, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't emotionally attach to them at all. So like
Yeah,
I have their contact information. We're all friends on Instagram. And it was just overall a solid day. Like
you're
I
really,
didn't have it, like you said, I didn't have any expectations. So there's nothing that like could go wrong.
yeah, and I think that's how the best trips are. Is like when you, it's the things that are unexpected. And I feel like if you stick too closely to like what your expectations are and what to the plans are. Oh, it's so late. I can't even talk anymore. You kind of miss out on like opportunities that would just come to you.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best way is like staying present and just like being open to all the possibilities, not just the ones you have on your itinerary.
I like that. And that leads me to my final question to wrap up the episode, which is why do you travel?
I think it changes so much. Like it changed so much from when I first started traveling. I remember when I was really young, just the idea of like just experiencing the world, getting to like meet new people, have different experiences. it just always excited me. I think when I started to actually travel, and I think actually living here in France, I meet so many people on the daily. It has become so overwhelming. I feel like I don't have to really leave like where I am to get this worldly experience, but it's also like I live in a different country, so it's kind of biased, of course. So I like the idea of like slow traveling now. Like if it's to visit friends or family in a different country, I think that's like the best experience for me. The whole like backpacking across a country, I can't. My bones can't do it no more. I don't want to do it. So I don't know. I think for now it's to instead of finding new experiences, it's to deepen relationships.
It's funny. I think when I first used to, like you said, it's just changed a lot. And I think now I'm like very solidified in like how I view traveling. But when I first started, it was like a novelty thing. It was like, oh, I'm going to this place and like I'm gonna take some cool photos and like, yeah, checked it off the list. And then when I went to live in London, I was doing so many places and seeing so many things that it was like, okay, all of this looks exactly the same. It was too much. I mean, I'm glad I did it, but I wouldn't do it again. I would not do it again at all. Like it was just doing too much at once, and I appreciated things, but it aged me so much. Then there was a time where I was like, whenever I was traveling with you, where it was like I was really excited to meet new people. Like I really wanted to meet people, meet people. And then on this trip, I was like, I don't want to meet nobody. I don't want to meet anybody else except a man who can give me what I need, and that's it. I don't want to meet anybody else. And that's funny because this is a time where I feel like I met the most authentic connections. Which is not what I was looking for. And I think now for me, it's really the experience. Like I'm going to places to give me like a rush or an adventure or something that I'm really interested in doing. And from that, I learn a lot about myself. And then when I go home, I'm feeling like refreshed and like more excited about my regular life. Not that like travel is like an escape from life, but I think it just made me realize more about myself. And for me, I think that's everything in my life now is learning more about myself and just becoming the person I want to be and achieving the things I want.
Yeah. I would definitely say like for me it's not so much about the quantity, it's more about that's not what I want to say. What I wanted to say was it rhymed a bit. But overall, it's like going deeper. Like I just want deeper connections, deeper experiences than just many very shallow things.
Do you
So
think South Africa lived up to your expectations in that sense?
yeah, but differently. Like I feel like even though Cape Town was amazing, like the people that we met there was amazing, the things we did there was amazing. I think what I really valued the most out of the experience is like going and seeing my friend Kat and then having you there with me too. And like even the way the two of y'all also bonded, like the time the four of us spent all together, I think was like it was amazing. It was like there was moments we complained about it, but like now thinking back to it, I think I felt like it deepened my relationship with Kat and it also deepened my relationship with you.
I
So
agree.
it was the thing that like made the trip like priceless.
I think for me, what was also or is a challenge going forward as well is like I think you and I have very different, not expectations, but different reasons for traveling now. But I think we both appreciate those parts of the other person. So I think like future trips will look very interesting.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I'm kind of excited to see how that works out. I think there'll be some frustration as well, probably more frustration than in the past. But I mean, you've seen like the way, like how happy I was when you left, but like with like the way things progressed when you left, and then I also really enjoyed the time with Kat as well. I think I just didn't know if the time that I had once you left was going to come, so it was like that stress of like we're doing this thing and I don't mind, but I really want this thing as well,
Yeah.
and it like
And
collided.
also like thinking because I felt like you were so like I don't know if it was stressed, but you would always be like, "But you're leaving. Like our time is gonna be done soon. Like we're leaving." And I'm just like, "Anne Marie, calm down." Like,
I think I mean, that's another thing that's hard about us traveling together is like I only see you so often. So
but
every
you're the
time
person I see the most.
I know, but I also like you see how much time I spend with my friends here that are in New York. So when I see you, like it's almost like my heart gets like so attached to you. I'm always attached, but like I value in-person time together. And so I'm with you for like a day or two, and then you're like ripped away from me. That's how it feels. And then like this time especially was so hard because we haven't spent this much consecutive time together in a while, but every time it was like 3 days, 3 days, and you were ripped away again. And so like this is like the longest time we had together. But I felt like you didn't understand that you were like, to me, that you were like leaving so soon, and like not like there was so much I wanted us to do together, you know, like so many, not plans, but like so many experiences. I'm not going to see you for a couple of months, and then you're going to go off and have your own life, and I'm going to have my own life. And of course we talk all the time, but like I wanted that time together.
Um,
And now my
yeah.
heart hurts.
Oh. Well, we always got Messenger and
Oh yeah. But it's
and
funny because I feel like this time, like you missed me a little bit when I left. Like every time, like you messaged me and you were like, like you even sent me that job in London on LinkedIn the other day, and I was like, yeah, she.
yes, I meant to tell you. I was like, yeah. Every time I'm like looking at a job in like London or Paris, I was like, oh, this is close. This is close. This is close to me. Let me send it to her.
It's funny because I think I'm learning to detach more, and you're learning to attach more. Like we're rubbing off on each other. It's really cute.
It's something.
It's something. But we only have 2 minutes until the Zoom meeting ends, so we gotta go.
Oh, so I guess we'll close out like how we normally do, which is
How do we normally close?
I don't know. You didn't put it in the agenda.
Yeah, I know. Because I feel like we didn't solidify anything, but literally the clock is ticking, like 1 minute and 55 seconds. So I'm going to say, I am Anne Marie Gaidosh.
No, that's not how it goes.
Stop!
Isn't it
How does it go,
calm?
Chanel?
Isn't it keep calm, breathe in, and then we have to say something.
That's stupid as hell. Why did we do that?
Because Chad told us.
Chad told us. Chat GPT.
Yes.
That's really dumb.
Okay, go ahead. You do your thing.
I just want to say that I'd like to wrap up this episode, and I had a really great time chatting with Chanel. I really decided I made this agenda. That's probably why I was talking so much. And really, I just wanted to talk to Chanel about these things, but we had to turn it into content. And I think it was a valuable conversation for other people to listen to. Thank you and have a great day.
Bye. I'm Chanel.
I'm Anne Marie.
And this was
Sweet 15.
Bye.
The recording has stopped.